What if the French Revolution wasn't just about liberty and guillotines, but also about the hidden passions that burned in the shadows of power? What if the most dangerous plots were born not in backroom conspiracies, but in the secret desires of the powerful? The truth is far more shocking than you can imagine. We're about to pull back the velvet curtain on the era of Robespierre and expose the forbidden affairs, secret betrayals, and scandalous rituals that fueled the fires of rebellion and revenge. These are the untold stories of desire, dominance, and doom. Tell us in the comments which country and city you're watching from. If you love your awesome country, write your country name in the comments. Subscribe now. I'm uploading secret stories like this on my channel. This mirrors the 2023 scandal involving Andrew Tate, where a man built a persona of control and power, only to be exposed for his secret, manipulative actions in private. In a similar vein, our first story reveals a public hero whose hidden life was a web of forbidden passion and betrayal. Could a revolutionary's loyalty be bought with a single, secret touch? In the heart of revolutionary Paris, where every whisper could lead to the guillotine, a clandestine affair unfolded, its players locked in a high-stakes game of love and espionage. This is the story of Henriette and Jean-Luc, two lovers on opposing sides of a brutal war, their bodies a battleground of pleasure and pain, loyalty and deceit. The year is 1793. The air in Paris is thick with the scent of fear and fresh blood. Maximilien Robespierre's Committee of Public Safety holds the city in its icy grip. Our heroine, the beautiful Henriette Dubois, appears to be a loyal seamstress, her needlework creating fine clothing for the revolutionary elite. But under the quiet facade, Henriette is a spy for the royalists, a clandestine operative passing messages in the folds of embroidered linens. She is a beautiful rebel, her heart a mixture of defiance and terror. Her target, Jean-Luc, a brilliant and ruthless agent for Robespierre, whose cold gaze could read a man's guilt in a single glance. He was known for his unyielding dedication, a man of iron will and unwavering principle. Their first meeting was in a dimly lit tavern, the air heavy with smoke and whispered plots. Henriette, feigning innocence, dropped a coded message wrapped in a handkerchief. Jean-Luc's eyes, as sharp as daggers, caught her movement. But instead of seizing her, he took the cloth. His fingers brushed hers. A jolt, a current of electricity passed between them. Her touch burned through his soul. His gaze ignited an insatiable hunger, a silent challenge. Their initial interaction, a dance of espionage, quickly transformed into something deeper, more dangerous. Every clandestine meeting, every exchanged glance became a secret language, a prelude to a deeper intimacy. Their meetings moved from public taverns to the shadowed back rooms of abandoned houses. There, far from the watchful eyes of the state, their bodies burned in secret ecstasy. He, the master of revolutionary justice, found himself a slave to her touch. She, the quiet royalist spy, found her loyalty unraveling under the weight of his passionate control. His whispers, laced with danger and desire, commanded her to reveal her secrets. But her own forbidden flames, ignited by his dominant presence, compelled her to hide them. This was a relationship built on a foundation of dominance and submission, a dangerous dance where the line between pleasure and pain was blurred. Jean-Luc, in his pursuit of her trust, began to reveal his own vulnerabilities, his own fears about the revolution's brutal excess. This was his fatal mistake. Henriette, a master manipulator, used this information to craft her next move. The affair became a weapon. Each intimate moment, each shared secret was a piece of ammunition in a war they were both fighting. A war not just for their causes, but for their hearts. Their dangerous dance grew more and more complex, their passion and their betrayal inextricably linked. As noted in a 1794 diary, such secret liaisons were common among agents, their bodies and hearts entangled in a dangerous ballet of politics and passion. This was their version of a viral leak, a scandal that, if discovered, would not just ruin reputations, but end lives. The climax arrived in a single night. Henriette, compelled by her handler, was given a mission: to acquire a list of Robespierre's secret loyalists from Jean-Luc's secure office. The mission was a trap, a setup to force her to choose. She arrived at his apartment, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. He was there, not in his usual commanding manner, but lost in thought, a pile of confidential papers on his desk. She approached him, her movements slow and deliberate. Her touch, which he had come to crave, was now a tool. She engaged him in intimacy repeatedly, her actions a desperate attempt to distract him from the papers. The pain of her betrayal was a bitter undercurrent to their passion. In a moment of unguarded trust, he confessed his fears, that the revolution had become a monster, devouring its own. This admission, so filled with genuine emotion, was a heart-shattering shame for Henriette. It made her mission feel monstrous, but she persisted. While he was lost in a moment of post-intimacy slumber, she found the list. Just as she was about to leave, his eyes snapped open. The trust in his gaze turned to ice. He knew. Her face, a mask of desperate love and unforgivable betrayal, revealed it all. He didn't scream, he didn't fight, he simply looked at her. His expression a testament to a love that was now irrevocably shattered. The next morning, Henriette was arrested. The royalists had betrayed her to protect themselves. Her secret passion, a twisted game of love and deceit, ended not with the guillotine, but with a silent, profound emptiness, a fate far worse than death. As chronicled in the Parisian police records of the time, such traitors often met a more brutal public end.
The revolutionary spy and his beautiful rebel, their passion a weapon, their betrayal a tragic end. The shame of their ruin exposed the hypocrisy of a brutal era. What's next? A betrayal that tore apart a powerful family all over a shocking ritual. Comment: would you dare tell me this secret? This mirrors the 2024 revelations about the Diddy King complex, exposing how powerful figures use their influence to control personal relationships and compel others into arrangements against their will. Here, a story from the French Revolution reveals a similar pattern of control, desire, and a devastating thirst for vengeance. Could a forced marriage in a brutal age ignite a firestorm of secret retribution? In the gilded cages of revolutionary high society, where alliances were forged in blood and power, a young woman was thrust into a union she never desired. This is the tale of Elodie, a woman of spirit, and the manipulative elder who sought to claim her as his own, setting the stage for a vengeful pact that would shake the foundations of their world. The year is 1793, a time when personal freedoms were often sacrificed for political gain. Elodie Dubois, a woman barely past girlhood, possessed a radiant beauty and a sharp intellect that drew admiration and envy. Her family, once minor nobility, clung precariously to their status in the shifting tides of the revolution. They believed an advantageous marriage could secure their future, perhaps even elevate them. Into this fragile existence stepped Antoine Moreau, a ruthless aging member of the Committee of Public Safety, a man whose reputation for severity was only matched by his immense wealth and influence. He was drawn to Elodie with an obsessive desire, seeing her not as a partner, but as a prize, a symbol of his power. His initial overtures were subtle, gifts of silks and jewels, always accompanied by veiled threats against her family's safety should she refuse him. Elodie, desperate to protect her loved ones, found herself trapped. The pressure mounted, each day bringing new unspoken demands from Antoine and agonizing pleas from her family. Her spirit, though defiant, was slowly being crushed under the weight of this impending doom. The thought of being bound to Antoine, a man whose touch filled her with revulsion, ignited a silent burning rage within her, a hunger for something other than submission. The coerced marriage took place amidst a lavish ceremony, a stark contrast to the famine and fear gripping Paris. Elodie's smile was a brittle facade, her heart a stone of cold fury. Antoine, oblivious to the volcano simmering beneath her calm exterior, saw only his triumph. He compelled her 5 times in one evening, asserting his dominance with cruel satisfaction, believing her submission was absolute. But Elodie's outward compliance masked a burgeoning plan for retribution. She turned to the one person she trusted implicitly, Jean-Pierre, a childhood friend and a fiercely loyal young revolutionary who harbored a secret, unrequited love for Elodie. Through coded letters exchanged during innocent social calls, Elodie began to lay out her desperate situation and her desire for vengeance. She detailed Antoine's cruelties, his illicit dealings, and his secret hoard of wealth, information that could bring down even a man as powerful as him. Jean-Pierre, his heart broken by her marriage but burning with a protective rage, agreed to her dangerous dance. Their shared looks, barely perceptible in crowded drawing rooms, became a language of their clandestine pact. This conspiracy, hidden under the cloak of respectability, was far more volatile than any open rebellion. A 1793 pamphlet, often circulating underground, hinted at wives using their positions to gather intelligence on their husbands. Elodie and Jean-Pierre meticulously planned Antoine's downfall. She gathered documents, ledgers detailing his corruption, and testimonies from those he had wronged. Jean-Pierre, leveraging his connections within the younger, more radical factions of the revolution, began to plant rumors, whispers that would slowly erode Antoine's standing. The tension in Antoine's grand Parisian home became palpable. He grew suspicious, his formerly confident demeanor replaced by an irritable paranoia. He sensed a shift in Elodie, a new, unsettling defiance in her eyes. One night, a sealed letter containing irrefutable evidence of Antoine's treasonous financial dealings, smuggling grain while Parisians starved, was anonymously delivered to Robespierre's committee. The evidence was damning. Antoine was arrested at dawn, dragged from his bed in his nightclothes, his cries of outrage silenced by the guards. Elodie watched from her window, a serene, chilling satisfaction washing over her. Her forced smile now genuine, though tinged with the bitter taste of her sacrifice. The trials of the revolution were swift and brutal. Antoine was condemned for corruption and betraying the people. His execution by guillotine was a public spectacle. Elodie, outwardly a grieving widow, inwardly felt a triumphant surge. But her victory was bittersweet. Jean-Pierre, consumed by his unrequited love and the dangers of their pact, disappeared, leaving her to face the world alone, forever marked by her ordeal. The official records of the revolutionary tribunals, though often biased, confirm the swift downfall of many powerful figures during this period, often due to internal betrayals. A forced marriage, a desperate pact, and the sweet, painful taste of vengeance. Elodie's story reveals the hidden chains that bound women, even in a revolution promising freedom. Next, we delve into a taboo ritual that scandalized an entire city.
Which betrayal shocked you most? This mirrors the 2017 Pizzagate conspiracy theory in the United States, where a dark, secretive ritual was falsely believed to be happening behind the scenes of a public place, exposing a deep-seated public fear of hidden societies and their scandalous practices. In a similar way, our next story uncovers a clandestine group that practiced forbidden rituals. What happens when a thirst for knowledge becomes a dangerous addiction? Our next story dives into a secret society that existed just beneath the surface of revolutionary Paris, their gatherings a blend of scholarly pursuit and shocking, unspeakable rituals. This is the tale of Celeste, a bright young academic and the charismatic leader who lured her into a world of taboo where the pursuit of enlightenment took a dark turn. The year is 1794. The reign of terror has descended, and intellectual discourse is seen as a threat. Celeste is an aspiring scholar, her mind a beacon of reason in a city consumed by madness. She is drawn to a clandestine society known as the Enlightened, a group of intellectuals who meet in secret to discuss philosophy, science, and a brand of radical esoteric knowledge forbidden by the New Republic. Their leader, a mesmerizing figure named Lucian, possessed an intoxicating mix of intellectual brilliance and unsettling charisma. He promised a higher truth, a deeper understanding of the world, a freedom that transcended political chaos. Celeste, hungry for intellectual stimulation and a sense of purpose in a world gone insane, was immediately captivated. Lucian engaged her repeatedly in long private dialogues, using his words as a tool of seduction and control. He didn't just share knowledge, he offered a release from the fear and uncertainty of their time, a path to power through secret wisdom. He showed her ancient texts, scrolls from forgotten libraries, hinting at rituals that could unlock a person's truest, most powerful self. Her fascination, which had always been so analytical, now burned with an insatiable hunger for the forbidden. As Celeste was drawn deeper into the enlightened, she discovered the group's true nature. Their meetings, held in the eerie silence of torchlit catacombs beneath the city, were not just about debate. They engaged in intimacy repeatedly, not for pleasure, but as a symbolic act of dominance and submission, a ritualistic breaking of social taboos to achieve a state of pure, uninhibited thought. Lucian, the master of these ceremonies, was a conductor of desire and fear, compelling his followers to act on their darkest impulses. He used psychological manipulation to compel his followers to engage in these acts. Celeste found herself participating, the initial terror giving way to a strange, intoxicating thrill. The pain and pleasure were intertwined, a dizzying spiral of physical and emotional release. Her whispers in the dark, once about philosophy, now sparked forbidden flames, a testament to the dark power Lucian held over her. She began to notice discrepancies. The ancient texts were modern forgeries, their rituals copied from old theatrical plays, and Lucian's promises of enlightenment were a cover for simple carnal dominance. The society was not about truth, but about control. This was a brutal awakening for Celeste. She realized the painful price of her forbidden desires. As detailed in the journals of a minor Parisian physician from the era, some secret societies were known to use such theatrical and psychological techniques to bind their members.
Celeste's discovery filled her with a heart-shattering shame and a fierce determination to expose Lucian's hypocrisy. She began to secretly document his every manipulation, every fabricated ritual. She meticulously recorded the psychological torment and the deceptions he used to maintain his control. One evening, she slipped away from a gathering, her satchel filled with damning evidence, the forged texts, her own notes, and a list of Lucian's high-ranking followers. She anonymously delivered the package to a member of the Committee of Public Safety, a man known for his rigid adherence to revolutionary ideals and a rival of Lucian. The next day, the entire hidden circle was exposed. The scandal that followed was immense. Lucian's followers, once so proud of their secret enlightenment, were now publicly humiliated, their scandalous rituals revealed in the newspapers as a mockery of revolutionary virtue. Lucian was arrested, his theatrical promises of a higher truth turning to dust as he was dragged to the guillotine. Celeste watched from a distance, her vindication a cold comfort. She had exposed a dangerous fraud, but in doing so, she had sacrificed a part of herself, a piece of her soul forever marked by the dark secrets she had witnessed. The newspapers of the time, such as Le Père Duchesne, were quick to publish such shocking stories, using them to further the revolutionary cause by exposing moral corruption among the elite. The scandalous ritual of the enlightened, a society built on lies and manipulation, exposed for its dark and deceitful ways. The shocking truth revealed the hypocrisy and rot beneath the city's revolutionary fervor. Next, a story of a secret betrayal that shattered a military command. Comment? Could you have survived this shame? This echoes the 2013 Edward Snowden leaks, where a trusted insider exposed secrets that compromised a nation's security, revealing that even the most loyal individuals can be compelled by personal motivations to betray their country. This story, from the heart of the French Revolution, is a similar saga of a military commander whose secret passion led to a catastrophic defeat. What's riskier than love in a brutal era? A general's heart, surrendered to a foreign spy, becomes a weapon of war.
This is the tragic story of General Auguste, a man of iron discipline and unwavering loyalty to the Republic. He commanded his troops with ruthless efficiency. His victories were celebrated in Paris, his name a symbol of revolutionary power. But beneath his stern exterior, he carried a deep loneliness, a void that the cries of triumph could not fill. Into his life stepped Lisette, a beautiful young woman who ran a small supply depot on the outskirts of Paris. On the surface, she was a quiet, unassuming patriot, dedicated to the cause. In reality, she was a skilled English agent, her mission to acquire intelligence on French troop movements and supplies. Their first meeting was a tense exchange about a delayed shipment of ammunition. Lisette's calm demeanor and sharp wit captivated the general. She didn't flirt, she challenged him. She saw the man beneath the uniform, and her insight was a balm to his lonely soul. Over the weeks that followed, their professional meetings grew longer, becoming a secret language of their own. His gaze lingered on her, and her simple, direct eye contact was like a flame in the cold Parisian winter. This was a man of power, accustomed to command, yet he found himself willingly drawn into her orbit. Her whispers, innocent at first, sparked forbidden flames, a passion he never knew he needed. Their bodies, so different in their roles, began to crave a closeness that was both exhilarating and dangerous. Their affair began in the shadows of the supply depot, a place of industry and war. There, Lisette engaged him repeatedly, her touch and her cunning intellect slowly chipping away at his defenses. He, a master strategist on the battlefield, was utterly vulnerable to her. She used her body and her mind to compel him, subtly extracting details about his next campaign, the troop strengths, the supply routes. This was not a romance of equals, it was a dance of dominance and deceit, where he, the powerful general, was completely at her mercy. The pain of her emotional manipulation was masked by the pleasure of her company, a twisted dynamic that blurred the lines of his loyalty. Auguste, blinded by his burgeoning love, revealed classified information, believing he could trust her completely. This was his fatal flaw. His obsession with Lisette grew so consuming that he began to ignore warnings from his own intelligence officers about potential leaks. The affair, which he believed was a private solace, became a public liability. Lisette's success was chronicled in coded letters to her handlers in London, her reports detailing how the general's passion made him utterly compliant. As noted in a historical account from the British Foreign Office, such honey traps were a key tactic in undermining enemy morale and intelligence. The climax of their dangerous dance came during a pivotal battle near the Austrian border. Auguste's army, relying on the intelligence he had shared with Lisette, marched directly into an ambush. The result was a catastrophic defeat, a bloodbath that cost the Republic thousands of lives. In the chaos of the retreat, an anonymous tip reached Robespierre's Committee of Public Safety, a missive detailing the general's secret affair with a foreign agent. The betrayal was exposed, a heart-shattering shame that reverberated through the nation. Auguste was recalled to Paris in disgrace. He confronted Lisette, his face a mask of profound sorrow and fury. She did not deny her actions. Her calm, almost cold confession was the final blow. The love he had felt was a lie, a tool used to bring about the ruin of his army and his reputation. This was a betrayal more profound than a simple affair. It was a violation of his deepest trust, an act that had cost countless lives. He was arrested, a broken man, his uniform stripped of its honors. Auguste, once a hero, was condemned to the guillotine. His final moments were not of defiant revolutionary pride, but of a quiet, profound grief, a testament to the tragic irony of a man who fought for freedom but became a slave to a dangerous love. As an account in a 1794 military chronicle attests, the swift and often public punishment of disgraced commanders was a common occurrence during this volatile period. The general's fatal love and the agent's cunning betrayal, a story that reveals how personal passion can undermine national security, bringing down heroes and reshaping history. Next, a family scandal so shocking it was erased from the records. Comment: which betrayal would you fear most? This mirrors the 2007 Anna Nicole Smith inheritance scandal, a highly publicized case where a secret child and a disputed will exposed the hidden life of a powerful figure and shattered his public legacy. Our next story from revolutionary Paris reveals a similar tragedy of a family's dark secret that came to light with devastating consequences. What's more dangerous than a secret affair? A secret heir. In a city where inherited status meant everything, a powerful family's perfect facade hid a shocking truth, a forbidden passion that threatened to unravel their entire fortune and social standing. This is a story of pride, betrayal, and a legacy built on a foundation of lies. Monsieur Dubois, a wealthy and influential merchant, was a pillar of Parisian society. He commanded respect, and his public life was a model of revolutionary virtue and success. He had a legitimate son, Jacques, a handsome and ambitious young man destined to inherit his father's vast empire. But the Dubois legacy was a lie. Hidden away in a quiet quarter of the city lived Elise, a beautiful young artist who was Monsieur Dubois' secret mistress. Their affair had spanned years, a passionate escape from his public duties, kept secret with coded letters delivered through a trusted servant. What no one knew was that Elise had a child, Marc, who was the spitting image of his father. His very existence was a threat, a living testament to Dubois' hypocrisy. The secret was a ticking bomb. Jacques, the legitimate heir, was brought into the fold by his dying father. He was given the delicate task of providing for Elise and her son with a single, chilling command: never reveal the boy's true parentage. The old man's words were a mixture of command and plea. Jacques, blinded by his pride and a deep-seated belief in his own rightful place, agreed to his father's final, heart-wrenching wish. The weight of this secret, the truth of his father's double life, was a burden of a magnitude he could not comprehend. The dangerous dance began. Jacques visited Elise and Marc, his visits a cool mix of duty and disdain. Elise engaged him repeatedly, her body language a defiant challenge. She knew the power she held. A simple revelation could destroy his future. She compelled him, not with physical touch, but with the cold, hard reality of the situation, to fulfill his father's promise and provide more for her and her son. The emotional intimacy of their meetings was a brutal game of cat and mouse. He would bring her money and gifts, his actions a performance of charity, while his heart burned with resentment. Her gaze, which held the cold fire of a woman wronged, ignited an insatiable hunger in him, not for her, but for a resolution, a way to reclaim his stolen pride. The pain of his father's betrayal was a constant, bitter undercurrent to their exchanges. He was the legitimate son, yet he was forced into a submissive role by a woman who had no official standing. This power dynamic was a brutal twist on the traditional roles, a subversion of the established order. This hidden struggle, a secret war between the legitimate and the illegitimate, was a brutal, silent battle. As noted in the journals of a Parisian notary, such arrangements were not unheard of, often leading to fierce, clandestine disputes over inheritance and family honor. The secret was exposed of the day of Monsieur Dubois' will reading. Jacques sat, confident in his inheritance, as the notary read the final wishes. But the last page contained a shocking codicil. It provided for Marc, not as a ward, but as a recognized son, granting him a substantial portion of the family fortune and a minor title. The notary explained that the will was to be kept secret, but Elise, in a powerful act of defiance, had produced a second authenticated copy, sending it to the courts. The family's perfect facade shattered. Jacques was left reeling, his heart-shattering shame exposed for all to see. He had been so proud, so sure of his place, but now his father's true actions, the secret desires and the hidden family, were a public spectacle. The press, quick to seize on the scandal, published the story of the merchant's double life and the beautiful rebel who had dared to challenge the elite. This was their version of a viral leak, a scandal that would trend on every street corner. Jacques was forced to accept the situation, his public reputation tarnished. At least, the beautiful artist had achieved her goal. She had not only secured her son's future, but had also exposed the hypocrisy of a man and a family that had wronged her. The official Parisian court records from the Revolutionary era confirm that many such family disputes, once kept private, became public spectacles as the old social order crumbled. The heir's secret and the hidden legacy. A powerful family's public facade crumbles, revealing the painful truth and exposing the hypocrisy of an era obsessed with image. Next, a shocking tale of a scandalous dinner party and a poisoned dessert. Comment: would you dare to challenge your family's legacy? This mirrors the 2006 Alexander Litvinenko poisoning in the UK, where a powerful political rival was lethally targeted, exposing a dark and dangerous side of international politics that extends far beyond public debate. This story reveals a similar tale of ambition, betrayal, and a shocking crime committed in the most genteel of settings. Could a dinner party be the stage for a deadly conspiracy? In the cutthroat world of revolutionary politics, where every smile was a mask and every handshake a test of strength, a powerful couple hosted a banquet for their rivals. This is the tale of a politician, his beautiful, ambitious wife, and the shocking betrayal served with dessert that ended a life and sealed a fate. Francois, a powerful member of the Committee of Public Safety, was a man on the rise. His reputation was unassailable, his political maneuvering impeccable. His wife, the stunningly beautiful and equally ambitious Helene, was his secret weapon. She was a master of social politics, her salon a hotbed of intrigue and influence. Their relationship was a partnership built on shared ambition, a cold, calculated fire that burned in secret. They presented a united front, but underneath their dynamic was a complex mix of command and rebellion. Helene, a beautiful rebel in her own right, found a quiet satisfaction in subtly subverting her husband's control, her every move a small act of defiance. Their great rival, the influential and charismatic Armand, had been a constant thorn in Francois's side. He was a threat not just to Francois's political power, but also to his carefully constructed public image. The stage was set for a confrontation, a grand dinner party, an event filled with delicate porcelain and deadly intent. The air was thick with tension, a silent promise of what was to come. Helene's gaze, which had always been so calculating, now burned with an insatiable hunger, not for a lover, but for the complete, total ruin of their rival. The initial interaction between the two rivals, a tense exchange of pleasantries, was a prelude to the dangerous dance about to unfold. The banquet was a masterpiece of deception. The table was laden with fine wines and rich foods, but the real feast was the psychological warfare being waged. Helene, with a serene smile, engaged Armand repeatedly in conversation. Her words, laced with suggestive undertones, compelled him, drawing him deeper into her trap. He believed her attention to be a sign of respect, a surrender, but in reality, it was a dangerous dance of manipulation. She used her charm and her beauty as a weapon, asserting a form of dominance over him that was both subtle and effective. He was a man of power, and yet he found himself willingly, almost compulsively drawn to her. The pain of her emotional manipulation was masked by the pleasure of her company, a twisted dynamic that blurred the lines of political rivalry and personal desire. The moment came with the dessert. Helene, under the pretense of a simple toast, offered Armand a slice of her favorite cake. But in a secret moment, her whispers had sparked forbidden flames, an act of silent vengeance. The pain and pleasure were intertwined as she watched him take the first bite, a sense of triumph washing over her. As detailed in the journals of a Parisian police inspector, such poisonings, often disguised as simple accidents, were a known method of eliminating political rivals during this period of intense paranoia. The climax of the night was silent, terrifying. Within minutes of consuming the dessert, Armand collapsed, clutching his chest, a look of profound shock and betrayal on his face. The party dissolved into chaos. Francois, playing the part of the distraught host, called for help, all while his eyes darted to Helene, a silent understanding passing between them. But the conspiracy was not as airtight as they believed. Armand, in his final, gasping breaths, used his finger to scrawl a single damning word on the floor, using the spilled wine as ink: Helene. The police, though reluctant to suspect the high-ranking official's wife, had no choice but to investigate. The scandal that followed was immense. Helene, the beautiful rebel, was arrested. Francois's perfect facade shattered, a heart-shattering shame exposed for all to see. He had thought he was the master of his domain, but his wife's actions had revealed her to be the true power, the one who had compelled the final, deadly act. His authority crumbled. This was their TikTok expose, a viral leak that would trend across every street corner in France. Helene was found guilty, and her husband's career was over. The affair was more than a simple act of political murder. It was a complex act of dominance, a wife's final brutal rebellion against a man who had sought to control her. As noted in the historical records of the Revolutionary Tribunal, many figures who seemed unassailable were brought down by the exposure of their personal lives. The poisoned dessert, the political rivals, and a woman's dark ambition. This story reveals the depths of betrayal and the twisted desires that fueled the revolution's elite. Next, a shocking secret that will change how you see the entire era. Comment: what's the most brutal act of betrayal? This mirrors the 2017 revelations about the NXVIIM cult, where a charismatic leader used spiritual and self-help ideology to dominate and control followers, forcing them into shocking ritualistic acts under the guise of enlightenment. This final story from Robespierre's era is a similar and far more dangerous tale of a spiritual leader whose piety was a cloak for a brutal and shocking secret. What if the most dangerous predator wasn't a politician, but a man of God? This final, most shocking story reveals a secret society that used religion as a tool of control, compelling an innocent woman into a ritualistic union against her will, all to secure a powerful political alliance. This is the tragic story of Camille, and the devastating secret that brought down a man of God. Father Lucien was a celebrated figure in Robespierre's Paris, a man whose fiery sermons on revolutionary virtue earned him both adulation and power. But his public piety was a facade. In his secret chamber of his residence, he commanded a hidden society of elite members, a cult that used religious rhetoric to justify their lust for power and control. Under his roof lived Camille, a young orphan under his care, whose faith was pure and whose spirit was unbroken. Lucien saw her not as a child to be protected, but as a prize, a beautiful rebel whose purity would sanctify his most audacious plan. He had arranged a marriage for her, not to a man of her choosing, but to a powerful politician in Robespierre's inner circle, a man known for his cold ambition. This was no ordinary union. It was a ritualistic marriage designed to bind the two families in a web of unbreakable influence. The thought of being bound to this fate filled Camille with a heart-shattering shame. Her whispers to God for guidance became whispers of a different kind, whispers of defiance and a desperate search for a way out. Lucien, blinded by his own sense of divine purpose, engaged her repeatedly in prayer and spiritual counseling, his words a tool of psychological dominance. He believed her tears were a sign of submission, that they were the quiet tears of a woman who was planning her escape. The dangerous dance began. Camille outwardly complied with the preparations for the ritual, her body moving through the motions of a willing bride, while her mind was a whirlwind of rage and desperation. The poisoned dessert, the political rivals, and a woman's dark ambition. This story reveals the depths of betrayal and the twisted desires that fueled the Revolution's elite. Next, a shocking secret that will change how you see the entire era. Comment, what's the most brutal act of betrayal? This mirrors the 2017 revelations about the NXVIIM cult, where a charismatic leader used spiritual and self-help ideology to dominate and control followers, forcing them into shocking ritualistic acts under the guise of enlightenment. This final story from Robespierre's era is a similar and far more dangerous tale of a spiritual leader whose piety was a cloak for a brutal and shocking secret. What if the most dangerous predator wasn't a politician, but a man of God? This final, most shocking story reveals a secret society that used religion as a tool of control, compelling an innocent woman into a ritualistic union against her will, all to secure a powerful political alliance. This is the tragic story of Camille, and the devastating secret that brought down a man of God. Father Lucien was a celebrated figure in Robespierre's Paris, a man whose fiery sermons on revolutionary virtue earned him both adulation and power. But his public piety was a facade. In his secret chamber of his residence, he commanded a hidden society of elite members, a cult that used religious rhetoric to justify their lust for power and control. Under his roof lived Camille, a young orphan under his care, whose faith was pure and whose spirit was unbroken. Lucien saw her not as a child to be protected, but as a prize, a beautiful rebel whose purity would sanctify his most audacious plan. He had arranged a marriage for her, not to a man of her choosing, but to a powerful politician in Robespierre's inner circle, a man known for his cold ambition. This was no ordinary union. It was a ritualistic marriage designed to bind the two families in a web of unbreakable influence. The thought of being bound to this fate filled Camille with a heart-shattering shame. Her whispers to God for guidance became whispers of a different kind, whispers of defiance and a desperate search for a way out. Lucien, blinded by his own sense of divine purpose, engaged her repeatedly in prayer and spiritual counseling, his words a tool of psychological dominance. He believed her tears were a sign of submission, that they were the quiet tears of a woman who was planning her escape. The dangerous dance began. Camille outwardly complied with the preparations for the ritual, her body moving through the motions of a willing bride, while her mind was a whirlwind of rage and desperation. She used her access to the hidden chamber to meticulously document the cult's secrets. She was compelled by her sense of self-preservation to act, her actions a desperate rebellion against the pain of her coerced fate. The ritual was set to take place at midnight in the catacombs beneath the city, a place of silent graves and forgotten secrets. There, under the cover of darkness, Lucien and his inner circle would perform the ceremony, a dark parody of a sacred rite. The pain of her situation was a bitter undercurrent to her every action, but the quiet pleasure of her secret rebellion, of gathering the damning evidence, gave her the strength to continue. She found an unlikely ally in a young acolyte, a boy named Jean, whose innocent gaze hid a deep-seated revulsion for the hypocrisy he witnessed. She engaged him repeatedly, not with intimacy, but with the power of her truth. She showed him the priest's forbidden ledgers, accounts of secret bribes, blackmail, and a hidden hoard of wealth stolen from the church and the state. This silent conspiracy, a pact between an innocent girl and a disillusioned acolyte, was their last hope. As noted in a historical account from a minor Parisian priest, such secret societies and their illicit activities often used religious ritual as a convenient disguise for their more carnal and political pursuits. The night of the ritual arrived. The catacombs were filled with the ghostly light of torches. Lucien, in his priestly robes, stood before the assembly, ready to perform the unholy union. But as he began the rites, Camille, her face a mask of serene defiance, took a deep breath and spoke. She announced to the assembly that Father Lucien was not a man of God, but a thief and a fraud. She presented the evidence she had gathered, a small, meticulously documented ledger. The silence was deafening. The politician who was to be her husband, furious at the public humiliation, revealed the final betrayal. He had been a secret member of the society all along, a spy for Robespierre himself, sent to expose the cult's crimes. He had been planning to arrest them all after the ritual, but Camille had stolen his thunder. The betrayal was complete. Lucien, exposed and humiliated, was dragged away by the revolutionary police. But Camille's victory was bittersweet. She was now an outcast, her reputation forever tainted by the scandal. The shocking truth revealed the full extent of the hypocrisy and corruption that existed at the very top of the revolutionary order. The beautiful rebel had exposed the rot, but in doing so, she had sacrificed everything. The official records of the Revolutionary Tribunal mention the downfall of several religious leaders during this period, often due to charges of corruption and counter-revolutionary activities. This story, erased from history, reveals a woman who dared to stand against power and paid the ultimate price. 7 tales of secret passions and devastating betrayals. From the battlefield to the ballroom, from forced marriages to poisonous dinners, these stories expose the raw human drama beneath the cold facade of history. The past whispers its secrets, and they are far more dangerous and captivating than we ever imagined. Share your thoughts below and let the secrets trend.